is an ArseBrothers production. Follow us on Twitter at the ArseBrothers. Get all our content on YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, and SoundCloud at ArseBros. And if you like what you hear, don't forget to smash that subscribe button. The world record for ejaculations in 1 hour is 16. 16 ejaculations in 1 hour. And I can tell you that I believe in 90 minutes of football, I came close. I believe I came close. It's a lot.
Did you work on that one?
It's a lot of I put it in the meeting agenda, Darren. If you read the meeting agenda. The agenda that I sent out, it said
dyslexic notes. I didn't know. Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't realize.
I sent notes, and at the bottom of the notes, it was one of the key notes was how many times can a man ejaculate in a day? But I have only found the record for in an hour. And the other question I posed was, how much male ejaculate do you have in your balls, and how long does it take to replenish? And that has been much harder to discover. But my purpose, Darren and Ryan, my purpose for looking up that stuff was I was so depleted. I was so depleted at the end of the Tottenham game from my just swollen balls ejaculating over our team and how fucking good we were and how shit Tottenham were and the fact that they're in third and we made them look so fucking bad that they look like a bottom of the fucking table team. I wanted to know what was possible, Darren. And that's what's possible. 16 times an hour. Darren, you're quite old. I imagine that your ejaculate is considerably
16
reduced.
times a year is my goal these days.
Oh, well, you're beating me then. Actually, no, I don't even have sex 6 times a year. I still ejaculate quite a lot, but mainly because I touch my own willy. But Arsenal, Darren, Arsenal reached out of the television and Arsenal touched my willy. Did they touch yours?
They touched mine. They touch mine every week. But they were especially good at touching it this week. Can we move on from these penis analogies every week?
I feel at this point that it's not an Ask Bros Rankcast unless it's got something to do with penises.
I know, but my mother said to me the other day, nothing, because she's been dead for 20 years.
Ryan, how aroused were you by the Arsenal performance? What level of arousal did you have?
Nothing gets my dick harder than seeing 11 men on the field playing football.
Do you know what gets my
11 men younger than me? So
do you know what gets my dick hard? You know what gets my dick hard, Ryan? When people
I'm sure you're going to tell us and interrupt us. I'm sure you're going to tell us. Ask us a question, then fucking interrupt, and then tell us what you think.
Well, I was going to say to Ryan, what gets my dick hard is when people have their microphone volume set to a reasonable level, not the deafening high decibel levels that Ryan is currently set to. Or is my headphones really loud? Oh, my headphones.
There you go. Exactly.
Fuck. We're really anyone who's tuning in for the first time, this is as professional as we get. As professional as we get. Ryan, your arousal is very high. Hard nipples?
It's funny. That's the one thing I think I have every game, like Darren said, is my hard nipples. Because, it's my dick getting hard. It's weird. It's hard. It's not hard. I don't know. But, 11 guys on the pitch, always hard, always erect, not coming as much. And it's kind of funny when I saw the question in our chat, how much do you ejaculate and all that good stuff, which it was actually there to all the listeners. And it's weird because I've said this on multiple shows, a lot of times on this, but I'm like a shotgun. I have a big load, but I'm out. I'm out for the count for quite.
So were you done? Were you done in the first 5 minutes of the game, Ryan? Because we look good. We look good from the first passage of passing play.
Well, so I pre-gamed a little bit. I had a couple wanks before the game because I kind of knew we were going to take control of the game early on, the first 20 minutes. So I kind of just before you're about to have sex with the girl for the first time, you have a couple wanks in the days leading up to it, just in case. You never know. So I lasted till about till which is kind of late in the game when Saliba nutmegged
Tantric.
What's his name?
You were tantric, right?
Yeah. I came without touching my dick. My wife actually asked me a couple of days ago if I could do that, if I could actually come without touching my own dick, and I said, "Yeah, watching Arsenal play. That's the only time." You'll never get me. You'll never get me there. So, needless to say, she hasn't spoken to me since.
Yeah, that's what happens when you come in her eye without her touching you. Darren, moving on from the penises.
She came in my eye. That's why I'm wearing glasses. She came in my eye. I got pink eye now. That's why I'm wearing glasses.
Pink eye comes from the butthole, Ryan. You need to do your anatomy.
Oops.
Darren, would you like to wade in with something?
No, I don't want to wade in anything with you two.
We started off with 7 listeners, and we're down to 4. And I think that's a pretty good effort from us, because we often go down to 0 very fast.
Where's that? What's he called? What was he called? Come on, I remembered this morning. What's the guy? Why not sentiment? Him, the fellow who started every week with Arteta out. Every week he started.
We're going to get to Arteta
with Arteta out, and I just want him to just big man up and come back on like he did every show last year, and just say, "Sorry, Darren, you were absolutely right, and I'm a complete cunt." Not me, him.
I think there's an interesting conversation to be had, Darren, about how important it is for people to, when they have made a statement, when they have a platform, as we have a platform. I think one thing that ArseBrothers has always done better than most is when we are disproven of something we've said. I think we're really good at saying, "I was wrong," and putting our hands up and saying, "I was wrong." And I don't think there's enough people out there willing to put their hands up and say they're wrong.
I can actually say I will also do that when it actually happens. I will also do that when, if ever, it actually happens.
But I think there's still a large cohort of people out there who are sitting quietly, who will still just be waiting. There's a lot of conversation out there that, these people are gone and the Emirates is rocking. And, from what I could see and feel through the television, the Emirates was absolutely fucking rocking from start to finish. But I do think that there's still going to be a cohort of people that are just going to wait, Darren. They're just going to wait. And, one of the conversation topics for today, Dazza, is, a lot of these Arteta outs, they wanted Conte. They were willing to pay big money for Conte. They were willing to let him give him the whatever he had requested, £300 million or £400 million to rebuild a squad. And if I was a Tottenham fan, I would not be fucking happy with that style of football away at Arsenal in arguably the biggest game of the year.
We were in such a state of depression back in the day. I think we would have happily taken Conte. I think I was on record saying I didn't want him because I just like him. It's just something about his face that just, doesn't work for me at Arsenal. He was somebody who joins a club for a year or two, spends a lot of money and then moves on. Excellent manager. When he went to Tottenham, I was very, very worried because he's very, very good. He is. But he just wouldn't have, for me, his face didn't fit at Arsenal. We don't want someone. We've just had a manager for 22 years. I wanted a manager for another 22 years. That's the way I feel. If we look after someone and they're good, then let it work. But that's how bad things were. That, Conte, when he was up, we weren't sure we could get him. People were desperate for him because he was good and we weren't. Would he come to Arsenal? So it was sort of a bit of synchronicity, a bit like Richarlison going to Tottenham. You get those horrible bastards who you just hope that never play for your club. And then when they go to Tottenham, it just feels like a perfect piece of karma. So I just don't think we need to worry. But I mean, for those people who said Arteta out, there were times lots of clubs would have sacked Arteta, lots and lots, especially the bigger clubs wouldn't have given him the third year because we weren't very good. But that little bit of investment in him as a person, everyone in that club says how good he is. And, let's just be grateful that we didn't make a rash decision 12 months ago.
Ryan, do you find it, I don't know, is it interesting? Is it a phenomenon that Tottenham hire cunts that have cunt faces? It honestly, it's like, because there's players in other teams who I like, who I'm like, I would have them at Arsenal. Everyone at Tottenham's a cunt. Conte's a cunt. And they've all got cunt faces.
Well, I'll come out, and I was a big Conte supporter before we hired Emery, or I guess when we hired Emery, you never want to be the guy that replaces Wenger. You want to be the guy that replaces the guy that replaces Arsene Wenger. I wanted Conte after Wenger because of exactly what Darren said. He's a guy that comes in for a couple of years, he spends a lot of money, and he fucks off. That's kind of what we needed. We needed someone to kind of rejuvenate the squad, rebuild it. To be fair, I think this is probably the better way, going young and doing this. But I didn't think this was possible given the requirements for the Premier League. So I was like, yeah, bring in Conte, have him spend all of our fucking money, and get lost. And then we bring in Arteta. So, yeah, I'll be one of those guys. But, yeah, obviously he's a cunt. And I'm excited he's at Tottenham because he's ruining them. But to be fair, too, I will give, I guess, maybe him a little credit. I don't know about a little credit. But if I'm a Tottenham fan, I'm not exactly not happy the way they play because he's playing to their strengths. This is where they excel on the counter. They're fucking shit. That's the only thing they can fucking do because they're terrible. And fuck them, And exactly, and again, a great point by Darren. Richarlison, hate him, miserable cunt. He can fuck right off. When they came out with the story how he got selected for the Brazil national team, and they showed a picture of him with all of his family in the favela watching him get picked on a little fucking shithole TV. And everyone's crying and laughing. I'm like, oh, you're a cunt. I don't. The media can build you up all you fucking want. You're a cunt. I hate you. And Tottenham is a perfect place for him. And yes, all they do is recruit cunts, just like Man United. And it's the exact reason why I hate Man U. Probably a little more Tottenham, although it's getting very, very close because how much I can't stand with Charleston. But yeah, fuck them. Fuck Tottenham. We win. London's red.
Really fucking went all in on that point, Ryan.
As I always do.
Yeah, Darren.
I was just going to say, though, sorry, mate, just the thing that's important here, this is a results business. And, we are so excited at the moment because we're not only winning, but we're playing with style. Spurs are third in the table. They're playing. I would hate to watch that style of football. I would hate to have a team that just
sits. They play anti-football.
Yeah, but they defend in a block of 11. They play like teams that we played in the past that are poor. Your Stoke Cities, your things. They're waiting for a free kick so they can put all their big lads up. It was kind of embarrassing, but he makes it work. They've spent some good money. I'm sure they got some good players, and it's a results business, and they're doing okay. So still, even though we're slagging them off, they're third in the table. He's still a very, very good manager. I'm just so delighted that we didn't take that risk and go that way. I mean, I'd hate it. Hate it.
It goes against, if I think about the Champions League final, Tottenham, there was a period of time where I was jealous of the football that they were playing. They were playing some, and I fucking hate Tottenham. I fucking hate Tottenham like anyone else, but I'm big enough to look at another club and be at a point where I was saying, they've extended beyond us. They're playing good football. I said at the start of the season, I'd give my left nut for Heung-min Son. At our club, I think he's a fucking superb player. He's never in the game with the way that they're playing. If you're a Tottenham fan and you're coming up against Arsenal, it's 2 games of the year where it doesn't matter whether you're home or away, you go out and you play. And Darren, for Conte to throw the towel in, for him to make the changes that he made, essentially saying, we're no longer chasing this game, I'm saving the players for Champions League. That sends possibly the worst message that you can send to a fan base. I'm sure Tottenham fans will justify it one way or another. But if that happened at Arsenal, there would be fucking anarchy.
You both watched the game like me. That at 70 minutes, as late as that, 3-1 up, if they nick a goal, then we're going to panic. Yep. As fans, we're going to panic. We know that if it got back to 3-2, we'd all be thinking, oh no, they're fucking 10 men. We're 3-1 up. They're fucking scored. Kane's going to get an equaliser in the last minute. That would have spread around the Emirates because we're still new at this being good, and there would have been a nervousness. There'd have been whistling for the final whistle 10 minutes before the end. We would have sat back deep. It would have been awful. And for Conte to actually, give up, which he did, he just put the towel in. It was like, fuck me, they've given up. They don't believe in themselves. He doesn't believe his team is good enough to come back. And that was where suddenly there's a marker in the ground now because, for 20 years we were better than them, a lot better than them. And then for the last 4 or 5, they've overtaken us. As you say, they're playing better football. They finished higher in the table. They even stopped being our rivals for a decade. United were our rivals. Liverpool were our rivals. City were our rivals. Chelsea were our rivals. Tottenham were just that lot down the road. They were hopeless. The last 5 years, those positions have changed. And the fact that they threw the towel in, how would you feel as a supporter? That's all they needed. I remember Saliba made a mistake with about 15 minutes to go and they got a free kick and they just piled everyone forward. Nothing came of it. But I thought, this is going to go in and then it's going to be a disaster for the last 10 minutes. But it wasn't. They didn't do anything. I mean, there's a marker in the ground now. We are now back where we deserve. North London is red.
I cheered harder probably when Conte did the 4 subs than probably any goal we scored. Just because, again, like Darren said, like he literally threw the towel and he gave up. I was going absolute berserk when I saw those 4 subs on the touchline. It was fantastic. And to Darren's point, Tottenham have finished above us in the last 6 straight seasons. So about time.
I think that's a marker of mentality, and Arsenal have put that marker down at the start of this season. For Conte to say we're not going to get back in this, and do that, whether he's trying to send a message to his team or a message to his strikers, I don't know. Regardless, it's a horrible message to players, club, and fans. And I genuinely think that singular decision will mark the end of Conte. I think you'll see Tottenham start to go off the boil in a big way now because those players can't be enjoying playing that way.
With his track record, he's likely to jump ship very soon or try to initiate being sacked very soon because he's not enjoying it. He wants to win the title.
So I started looking at the betting markets, Darren, after that game. Mate, Conte to be sacked before January is paying about $85. Right, I just think there's some value in it. I'm looking at it and I'm like, there's some value. Speaking of betting, I put a bet on Arsenal an hour before the game. I had Arsenal to win more than 3 goals scored, and I won a nice $200 on that one. So that was my level of confidence. But Darren, it's been so long since I went into a game, and I wasn't fearful. I don't know how you guys felt, but I didn't have a lot of trepidation. I'd usually be, over the last few years, like sick to my stomach going into a Tottenham game. I wasn't. I thought we were a better team. I knew we had our full squad. I thought that we would score goals, and I didn't think we would ship shitty goals. Was it the same for you guys?
Well, I mean, sorry, Ryan, jump in. I was very much, I think, next week, and I know we're going to talk about that, but next week, I know it's on our agenda, but the first agenda we've ever had. But I thought going into Liverpool next week, we're probably going to be the bookies' favourites. I mean, maybe not, but that's how I think how quickly things have changed. I think we should be. I'm going into the Liverpool game not with that trepidation that we had with Tottenham. I normally hate the Tottenham. It's probably my least favourite game of the season at home to Tottenham because there's just unless you win, there's just nothing good about it. It's nervy before, it's nervy during. And, they've only beaten us once in the last 20 odd years. We shouldn't worry so much, but we don't. Playing Liverpool for the last, 5-6 seasons, we've been battered home and away. My wife's from Liverpool, so I got tickets up at Anfield quite regularly. I've seen us get battered by Liverpool more than anyone. I'm going into next week's game, and I'm not saying we're going to win it. I'm not saying it's going to be the same. But I'm going in there with confidence that we can win that game, which I haven't had for 4 or 5 years. So, and yet just one other thing I just thought of, with Arteta at half-time in that game, how good was he? Because we were under the cosh, really, for about 20 minutes towards the end of that first half after they got that soft goal. And yet they came out in the second half and he'd rebuilt that confidence. And we came out and we just controlled the game. Sorry, too many points. But they're all flooding in because I'm so happy.
Ryan, for me, the Liverpool game, I know it's very early in the season, but that for me is season defining. It's already a season defining game. What are your thoughts on that statement?
So it is because of the name. Because Liverpool are not playing well this season. They just drew against Brighton, although Brighton's playing pretty well, even without Graham Potter, which I know a lot of us didn't think was going to happen. But yeah, I think with Liverpool, I think it's going to be a big test for us. But with saying that, I want to say I was definitely more nervous going against Tottenham than I am against Liverpool. I think Tottenham are just the perfect counter to us. I think we're playing great football, don't get me wrong, but I think little holes in our game and things we maybe don't do at 100% or what Tottenham excel at. Whereas like Liverpool have Firmino and Salah, and like Diego Jota always shows up against us. So like, he's going to obviously score against us at least one goal. But I don't, their team, just looking at their team top to bottom, I'm just like, what, like really? Like it's, going into it, and people always say, and which I always say, when you're going into North London Derby, form goes out the fucking window. When we beat them 3-1 last season, we weren't playing well, but we were like, but in preparation for the game, we were like, okay, doesn't matter. North London Derby, anything could happen. This is the game. We have to come away with points. But with Liverpool, they battered us every time, and I don't know. I don't see what they're going to offer us as a challenge. Besides the fact of just by the name, by Salah, by Firmino, by Diego Jota, because their midfield is shit, and I know it's something that we want to talk about, and I think a big X factor, and I think a big thing that's going to really help us solidify this game in these 3 points is going to be Thomas Partey.
Darren, season defining already for Arsenal in the sense of it. If there was something that you could point the finger at Arsenal prior to the start of this season, actually even in this season, if you look at the Man U result, it was that we weren't taking scalps. We weren't taking top team scalps. That's why I feel like it's season defining, because I feel like if we go and do that and we go and take points from Tottenham and we take points from Liverpool, it creates an environment for those players where any of the stigmas of the past start to be removed. That's why it's season defining for me.
Yeah, I still don't want to get too carried away this year. I still think that if you look at the results we've had so far, if they were scattered throughout a normal season, you would expect us to win all of them. And I know Premier League's really tough, and that doesn't happen. But all of the teams we played so far, you would expect us to beat, including really Tottenham at home. Maybe that was a big scout, but we played well at Manchester United, and we still managed to lose. So there is still that. Liverpool turned up and won 9-0 the other week. There's still that. I just think if we do get beat, it's all about performance. If we continue to play well, we don't get battered. That's where we've improved. Are we title challengers really? Are we really going to compete with Manchester City? Don't know. But where we're different is we've got to compete with these teams. We were better than Manchester United, didn't get the points. We were better than Tottenham Hotspur, and we got the points. And now we're going into a Liverpool game where for the last 4 or 5 years, we've just hoped we're not going to get beat by 4 or 5. And now we're going into the game hoping we're going to get something out of it, or thinking we can get something out of it. So, there's a huge change in 12 months. But season defining, no. If we get beat, we're going to roll our sleeves up and get on with it. If we win the game, wow, that just puts a lot of distance between us and Liverpool already for Champions League. And then do we start talking about, can we win the title? Do we? Do we dare to dream?
Darren, staying with you for a second, because Ryan has always loved taking Thomas Partey's cock in both hands.
Oh, yes.
But going with you, because you've been someone who, I'm not going to say has been critical, because I don't think you've been
critical.
No, but not undue. I don't mean. I just mean that you haven't been critical in the sense that you've never said that he wasn't a good player. You've always just said that you didn't really understand the hype. For me, last season when we tailed off, when Thomas Partey came out of the team, it was evident how important he was to the structures within the team. In this game, I know Granit Xhaka received the Man of the Match award, but Thomas Partey was at world class to a point where I was watching the TV saying, we have not had a player there like that since Patrick Vieira. We have constantly said this player is like Patrick Vieira, or that player is like Patrick Vieira. And we have a guy who's sitting there in the middle of the park who is able to take a player like Granit Xhaka, who was flawed, and give him the freedom to go and do something else confidently, and he's making him better. And I also think he's been hugely important in making Saliba look as good as Saliba is looking, just because of his positional availability. Are you at a point now, Darren, where you're starting to see the importance of that player, the importance of Thomas Partey to the Arsenal team and the structures?
Yeah, I mean, there's a few points there. For a start, he's no comparison to Vieira. They're nothing like each other, nothing whatsoever like each other. Completely different players.
Vieira, I think the comparison isn't in whether they're the exact same player. The comparison is in the effect that they have on the team.
Yeah, okay, in which case I'll take that. But, Vieira was a box-to-box player who could tackle like you wouldn't believe, who had an engine like you wouldn't believe, who didn't sit in a centre circle and dictate play like Thomas Partey does. He was a different type of player, completely different. For those of you who didn't watch Patrick Vieira, because we're all getting on a bit. There's a lot of people who follow Arsenal now that won't have seen Patrick Vieira in the flesh. But he was box to box, big, tall, strong, athletic, nothing like him. Thomas Partey, my criticism has always been is that I was expecting a player like we got at the weekend from the start, with all the hype that he got when he arrived. Everyone was telling me he was going to be the game changer, and it's taken, how long's he been there now? A year and a half. I would say, with all of the injury problems and everything, has he been there? Is it a year and a half he's been there now? Or is it 2.5? I don't know.
Longer. I thought it was longer.
It's 2.5.
It's 2.5 years now. So for me, the first 18 months of his career, he hasn't been the player that we wanted, and he's so injury prone. I've just not seen what the hype is worth. I stood next to somebody on Saturday or Sunday when we played Tottenham Hotspur, Saturday lunchtime, was it? And I said that is the best performance I have seen by Thomas Partey, and he is starting to do it consistently now. And now we have him. He is one of the reasons that we have made that step up. There's a few, the improvement in Martinelli, the improvement in Xhaka, the addition of Jesus, the addition of Zinchenko, the quality of Ben White, the immense impact that Saliba has made. These are all contributing factors. But to me, the single biggest thing is when we're playing a big side like we did at the weekend, Thomas Partey's performance was so much better than anybody else on the pitch. And Xhaka got man of the match, but I thought Partey was without doubt the best player on the pitch that day. Fantastic performance.
Yeah, I gave it to Partey too. And funny enough, tomorrow is the 2-year anniversary of us announcing Partey.
Oh, okay, right. So it's 2 years. Yeah.
There you go. See you later, Max. Go fuck off.
Max has just disappeared. Were you? Look, you're a big Partey fan. I was just disappointed with the hype, Ryan. That was the thing for me. I just got disappointed with. He wasn't the player that everyone promised. I thought we got caught in possession far too easily. It took him a good year to get used to the pace of the Premier League, and I think injuries didn't help. But what do you think?
No, I agree. And I was also kind of in your shoes or in your boat when he was out for probably towards the end of last season. The talk was like, oh, we got to think about replacing Thomas. We got to think about what we're going to do going forward because he's always hurt. He's never around, especially for the big games when we want to make that big push. And I was like, yeah, I agree. We spent a lot of money. We enacted his release clause, and the player itself, I think, is what we need. That kind of player, the kind of like you were talking about, staying in the field, dictating pace, dictating the flow of the game. Because I think that's just how Arsenal want to play. That's how Arteta wants to play. We want to be the dictators. We don't want to. Arteta's not the kind of player to watch film and try to counteract the team. He's the kind of coach where it's like, this is how we're going to play. The other team is going to watch tape on us. But yeah, I was kind of going a little sour because what use is he? Because he's always so hurt. So I was kind of looking for other options for us. And yeah, he's just fantastic. But don't get me wrong. I do think that we should probably look into a potential replacement. I still don't know if Sambi's ready. And, Thomas Partey can break down at any time. So I think we kind of need someone, needless to say, like a Douglas Luiz, who's going to be ready at the beck and call to where if Partey gets hurt, we have that replacement.
It puts the fear of God into you, Ryan, playing this well and being able to, and I can look across most people on the pitch and I can say, if he goes down, we can replace him. If he goes down, we can replace him. Striker, like Gabriel Jesus and Thomas Partey, I think those are the two positions where we have a couple of very capable young guys underneath them who on their very best day, can emulate or mimic what they're going to do. But that's on their very best day. Eddie Nketiah on his very, very best day when he's completely on. He can do the things that Jesus can do. But if Jesus goes down for 6 weeks, I don't believe Eddie can produce it at that level consistently. And I'd say the same thing about Sambi. The only thing that is going to make Sambi better is getting Sambi out on a loan where Sambi is playing week in, week out at a good club. And I'm talking about getting him out to Roma, getting him out to Milan, getting him out to, a good league somewhere. And
I kind of want to play in the Premier League. I don't want to send him anywhere else.
Well, I don't think you can. He's too good to send him to another Premier League. He's too good to send him to another Premier League team. He's certainly too good to send him to a championship team. I then wouldn't want Sambi. And we've made this mistake with other players before, right? If you send a player to a low-level club, that club plays different football. And Arteta plays front-footed, possession-based football. So if you send Sambi to a club who doesn't play that style of football, then he doesn't learn anything going there. He just learns other habits, which is why I would send him to a front-footed club in another league, and just purely to go and play. And I don't think he's there, and I don't think he's ready. And it strikes the fear of God into you because you're so worried, Ryan, about a repeat of last season. When we were flying and Thomas Partey came out of the team and all of the pieces around him started to fall apart. And the thing, the player in the team who you would replace Thomas Partey with and probably get the best results isn't Sambi, it's Elneny. But that's a really short-term solution. You would as soon as Partey goes down, I'm immediately like, I'm playing Elneny. Sambi is a cup player for me. He's even a replacement to Xhaka in some extent to me. But I mean, if Arsenal aren't, Ryan, already having a real good look at something to do in January, I'd be surprised. I'd be very surprised.
Yeah, the only thing that worries me is I want Sambi on board. I think he's a player for the future that I think will help us dearly. He'll win us games. He'll get us points. But with all this talk about us buying a center mid in January, with the amount of bids we put in for Douglas Luiz, toward on deadline day,
he hasn't done enough, Ryan, to trust.
No, I agree.
Just let me caveat this: in a title push, he hasn't done enough. If we were looking for 6th, 5th, 4th, I'd just about say he's good enough, but not in a fucking title push. Not when it comes to the back end of the season and we've got to win. We've got to keep winning games at the back end of the season. We have to do something in January, and we have to bring in someone who is Elneny and better.
No, I agree, and then that's why I'm saying I want Sambi to realize that. I want him to realize, hey, I'm not there yet. I'm going to get there. It's going to take some time. I need to have some growing pains and grind a little bit. I don't want him to just throw his toys out. I don't know if Darren ended up watching All or Nothing, but was it All or Nothing? Yeah, I think it was All or Nothing.
Yeah.
But he's
he has a go at him.
He's not playing. And I just don't want that because I think he's a good player. I think he the captain in Anderlecht at 20 years old is a big fucking deal. I know people don't really know football outside of the top 5 leagues, but that's a big fucking deal. And I really want him. I think he can be a leader in this club. I think he could be great for our team. He's just not there yet. And I think he needs to realize that because I know Arteta realizes that because of how much we tried to go in on Douglas Luiz the last minute when then he got hurt. But I just don't. He needs to stay here mentally because I don't want him to go physically.
Yeah, I don't think there's an issue. I don't see why you want to send him out, Max. I think there's lots of football this year. We're worried about Partey getting injured. Well, we've got a very comfortable replacement who can do half an hour every game if we're in a comfortable position. He's going to play a lot in the next few weeks because of the Europa League. We're playing twice a week. He's going to play and start in all of those games. He's going to get better. He's going to learn. I don't see there's an issue. He's a ready-made, fit young man who's going to come on. And I don't think he's as bad as you're making out either. I mean, I
wasn't
understand.
Making out that he was bad.
But you're right. He's a top 6, not a top 2 player, or maybe he's a top 8, not a top 2 player. I understand that, and it looks like
we've got to start changing our mentality, though, Darren. Like we've looked at ourselves. Purely our position in the league table changes the strategy, right? It just does. It changes the strategy, Darren. And if come January, we're in this position and we're 3 points clear at the top or 2 points down in second, a critical strategy decision has to be made. And what I'm saying is I would rather that thinking be happening now than that thinking be happening in fucking December.
Yeah, but possibly you're getting a bit carried away as well. You know, I mean, there's a little bit that we get beat by Liverpool at the weekend. We draw at Leeds the following game, wherever it is, and we're overtaken and we're in fourth place. And our attitude changes towards, come on, we've got to get in the top four. Now
you're a negative fan. You're negative. Everything that comes out of your mouth, Darren, is fucking doom and gloom.
You know, I sat down, I looked at your agenda today, and I sat down, and I thought, you know, I'm always the most positive because you're always so fucking negative on this program for so long. I'm always the positive voice. And now I'm thinking, I bet they get fucking carried away now. Look, I'm as excited as anyone, but we haven't played anyone. You know, who shouldn't we have beaten in our, you know, White Palace was a good result. It was a good result, but Palace have been beaten by all the top sides now. They've been beaten by all the top sides.
All the tops, but all of the...
No.
There's a reason why we're in first because people are losing to mid-table and lower-level teams.
Yeah, we're not. But
yeah, you know, but I said at the start of the season, we could lose both games against City, both games against Liverpool, and as long as we go and do our fucking job, right, and beat everyone who we're meant to beat, we still have a chance of finishing above them.
But you know, the conversation leading into this question was, you know, when we're on a title challenge in the last 7 or 8 games of the season. I mean, I absolutely hope you're right, and let's, you know, we keep winning and we keep improving. There's a real possibility that could be us this year. But let's be realistic. You know, Chelsea has spent 600 million in the close season. They're starting to put results together and not playing well. Very, very good new manager. Do you know, Tottenham, for all the shit they were, they're third in the table. That was the first time they've been beaten this year. Do you know, it's going to be tough.
But it's not like we're on an Emery run. It's not like we're winning and we're walking out of games and we're saying, "Oh, we didn't play well. Oh, we were dominated. Oh, we got away with that." So I can only look at the reality of what's in front of me right now, what the Arsenal team is showing me right now. I can only look at the reality of how much improved we are with Jesus. Wildly improved.
About Sam, this conversation has come about because you're saying send Sambi out on loan. Now look at some of the players in our squad who don't play at all. Ryan Nelson, Holding. You know, there are players that are squad players. You know that what.
Reece Nelson.
I know, but we called him Ryan. Do you remember Ryan, everyone?
Yeah.
Wasn't it Ryan, everyone?
That was my favorite part of the podcast when I was as a kid.
So, Ryan. You know, with Ryan Nelson and Ryan Holding, you know, these players that aren't getting any minutes at all, you know, some of those need to go out and play. Look at Balogun. Do you see what Balogun's doing on loan?
He's doing it in the fucking Farmers League.
He scored again this weekend. Yeah, but he scored 6. No, he's playing in top flight French football. That's what you're talking about. Send him out. He scored 6 goals in 9 games. You know, he's getting a bit of that regular playing because he wasn't going to get him any minutes at Arsenal. But Sambi Lokonga has played plenty of times this year already. You know, he started a few games. He's come on every game as substitute. I think, you know, it's not an issue. He's going to play on Thursday this week. He's going to play on Thursday next week. He's going to come on for the last 20 minutes, you know, against Liverpool, you know, to say, but
I think my point was that there's no issue with Sambi playing.
Well, you want to fuck him
games.
Off. Why do you want to fuck him off?
Because I'm not confident that if Thomas Partey pings a fucking hamstring and goes down for 8 weeks, that we can maintain our structures with Sambi.
I think let's get rid of him. It'll be even worse. Do you know?
I'm not saying let's fucking get rid of him today, you donut. I'm saying in fucking January. I'm saying in January when we're on top of the fucking league, right? And we have to go and look at whether or not we're going to trust Sambi to do us the next part of the league. Your brain's fucked.
I think Ryan Luis Villa is definitely a player that we're going to make more bids for. I think he was talking about putting in a transfer request. He wants to come to Arsenal, no doubt. I'm sure that if he's good enough, that will probably happen. But I don't see the need to get rid of Sambi. There's a hell of a lot of football in a World Cup this year.
Well, see, I agree with you, but my point is if we do sign Douglas Luiz in January, which I agree with Max, I think that's something we definitely need to look into because I do think someone like Sambi will probably hold and keep the status quo to an extent, where I think a Douglas Luiz player will kind of bring us over the line if Thomas Partey's hurt. But so, like I said, if we bring in Douglas Luiz, which I think we kind of should, or a player like Douglas Luiz of his caliber, Premier League proven, then Darren, where are the minutes? If Thomas Partey's healthy and Douglas is healthy, where are the minutes for Sam? Because I can't find him. Because with Ryan Holding, he's going to play Thursday. Ryan Holding is he's going to be a guy who's always going to play for us. And Reece Nelson just came back from injury, so he's an interesting situation that we're going to monitor. But with Pepe gone, I think he'll get minutes. I don't think we're going to constantly rely on Marquinhos and Martinelli. I think Nelson, maybe he'll play left wing, or Marquinhos will play left wing, and Reece Nelson will be on the other side. But with Sambi, if we bring in another center midfielder, where does he play? If Thomas Partey and Douglas Luiz are both healthy, does he play the Xhaka role? Yeah, maybe, but I don't know if that's where we see him, because he's always said he's a 6, and granted he's a kid, so you can't necessarily always go by what he says.
I think you can only take the big step up if you're playing every week. If you're playing every week, and if you're playing in the biggest games, and this is a danger when you bring in good talent and young men, and you're not able to give them the top games. You have to play top. You have to play top games to know how you're going to play in top games.
And I'm sure his asshole is still scarred from Liverpool. I'm sure he's still scared of that. And
isn't he going to get better under this manager than another manager?
I just don't think you can get. I think there's only a certain amount of
not against Bodo Glimt.
Yeah, not against fucking Uzbekistan.
No, but he played half an hour against Tottenham Hotspur at the weekend. You know what I mean?
The game was won. He didn't run out there with the crowd fucking roaring at him, Darren, and have to perform from the first second he got there. I'm like, you're making it seem like I'm slagging him off.
I can't believe you want to have him killed and hung, drawn, and quartered.
Fuck off, Darren.
No, we want him killed and resurrected. We don't want him gone for good. Just, go out on loan
and what? What, he's going to get better playing in the French league, which you just said is a farmers league. You know what I mean?
I never said send him to the fucking French league.
Well, you said don't put him in the Premier League because he can't go to the Premier League. I
said send him to Italy or send him to fucking Spain to go and play with some top teams for 6 months. And bring him back, and if he fucking kills it, he kills it. In the meantime, and this is assuming that he doesn't make his imprint and play really, really well in the games that he's offered. But so far, what I'm saying is he hasn't shown me that he is at the level of Thomas Partey, or that he is capable of getting to the level of Thomas Partey.
Play at the level of Thomas Partey.
It's fucking garbage.
How many think he doesn't have season? He's playing well, but when he's fucking fit, you're right. So why don't we get rid of Partey and get somebody who's fucking fit every week and who's as good?
Well, I hope it doesn't. I hope this.
I can't believe it. We're top of the league, and you can't find anyone to slag off. You can't find anyone to
bite you in the ass, because
you can't find anyone to slag off. So, let's pick on poor little Bambi. Fucking Bambi. Did you ever watch Walt Disney? Fucking poor little Bambi, and you want to kick him out and shoot him? Can't believe it. You're cruel. Fucking Australians. You're fucking cruel.
Gone wildly left of where I thought it would end up, but.
Okay. All little testicles are all leaking now. They're drained of anything because you just ruined him.
He couldn't ejaculate 16 times in an hour and break the world record.
He could if we build him up and make him feel like it. If he's listening to this, and I know he does, he'll be saying, I can't believe that. I always like that, Max. I always thought he was funny. Funny looking anyway.
Fucking cunts. All of you. Willie Saliba.
Oh, Ryan, he's a cunt. Ugh.
I think there's some... I think when you start looking at players of his caliber at his age, no matter what, we have to be reticent of the idea that every single club on the planet with big money is going to want to make a bid for him. What do you think we need to do to keep him, knowing that we are not a football club who is going to pay overs for potential?
I mean, I think you have him look at the project, look what we're doing right now, look what we're going to be doing. I would like to think he's well assimilated in London. I think he has friends here. I think he's gelled well with the team. And yes, I know it's not everything. I know players now look for money and stuff, but I don't know. I think I don't see him going anywhere, at least not right now. He's just so good, man. He's the best center back in the world right now. I don't care what anyone says. I really think so. His smoothness, his calmness with the ball, Although granted, and then this is where I guess Darren cover your ears. This is where I'm going to get a little pessimistic. I worry that, at this level, at this huge level, one fuck up with the ball because he's been dribbling around everybody, like in our box. It's scary, but he does it with ease and with calmness and so smooth. I think if he fucks up and gives a goal up like that, I think that might be the end of that. I hope it's not, because he's a young player. He's going to be great. But yeah, I don't think he's going anywhere anytime soon. I think, the project speaks for itself. I think, especially a player that's in it every week, they probably have a better notion than we do. But we're going to be in a bunch of Champions Leagues. We're going to go far in the Champions League. We're going to be fighting for the title. We're the youngest team. I think maybe now we're second youngest team in the Premier League. So, I mean, this is going to be for a long time. We're going to be in the conversation for Champions League. We're going to be in the conversation for the Premier League title for a lot of years to come. And I think as a if the average fan sees that, I think then the player is obviously going to say that, because they're working with the team week in, week out, and they're grinding with the team week in, week out. So I think that is going to hold a lot of water, because at the end of the day, I'm sure Saliba just wants to, start for his country, and he will start for France. And he's going to be part of that powerhouse. So
Didn't I read that he got dragged off at half-time for France when they were 2-0 down at the weekend? He started at half-time. He was dragged off. They were 2-0 down. Yeah, taken off after 45 minutes.
I don't fucking know. I don't fucking pay attention to friendlies. I don't give a fuck.
It wasn't a friendly. It was all...
sorry. Yeah, you wait for nations. Yeah.
No. But I'm saying it was France. I mean, I only read because he's an Arsenal player, and I sort of tend to follow Arsenal players, and it was a headline. He was dragged off after 45 minutes. I'm not sure.
Darren, is it just scar tissue that's making us fear the loss of Saliba, or do you think that the Arsenal fan base is justified in being worried that when you have a talent at that age and that skill level, that people are going to come in for them? And second part to that question, if you were to get £100 million for him, is that also a good business, regardless of the loss of the player?
Also, Darren, real quick before you answer, you're acting as if we're not a big club. I think, given, I know we've had that discussion, we haven't been there, we're not in the talk, but watching this project and watching where we're going, people are gonna fucking come to us.
Hang on. Max may think we're a little club in North London, not me. We're Arsenal Football Club. We're the best in the world. We're by far the greatest team the world has ever seen. Haven't you heard? What was your question, Max?
Is it scar tissue, just worrying about it? And if we would get really big money for him, is that not also equally good business?
The sad thing is, it depends very much on this individual as a player. I think I mentioned it to you, Max, earlier in the week. It depends whether he's Nicolas Anelka or whether he's Tony Adams. Nicolas Anelka was a young superstar at Arsenal. I was lucky enough to see him start his career. He was only a fucking kid, 19 years old, and took the Premier League by storm. He was fantastic. Within 2 years and within his career, he had gone for big money 6 times, was always looking for a paycheck, was always influenced by his brother, who was also his agent. And we never really, when we talk about the best players in world football, we don't really talk about Nicolas Anelka. And yet, if he'd have stayed at Arsenal for 8 years, he'd probably be our leading goal scorer of all time and would be one of the stars of Premier League football, in the Hall of Fame. Now, it depends whether Saliba has got that mentality that he can see what's going on here. He's fallen in love with Arsenal, because it's very difficult to fall in love with a club where for 3 years they say you're not good enough and fuck him off on loan somewhere. It seems like it was a fabulous bit of business by Arsenal, to sign him up on a 5-year contract to see that potential. But it just depends on him. If he does go, it's going to be because he wants to go. And if he wants to go, it means he doesn't want to be part of the project. And if he doesn't want to be part of the project, then I'm afraid we don't want him at our football club. It's a fairly straightforward thing. On the good side, I just hope that he does fall in love with the project. He realises he's getting a better player. He's going to be really high profile. He continues to play for Arsenal in the Premier League, and he can see that. And we'll obviously offer him a shed load of money. And I hope he will stay, because he does look, he's still young. He's still making mistakes, but I think he looks like he could be the real deal.
I was just reading then, actually, on my phone, that apparently we've opened conversations with him for a 3-year extension. I'll just knowing what Arsenal's wage structure is like, and knowing that a player like Saka is only now signing a contract that's going to take him to a reported 200k a week, that I can't imagine that Saliba will be offered more than, you know, 150,000 a week.
The world is in a pretty shitty state, and there's only a very few clubs that can actually afford to pay that sort of wages. You know, unfortunately, Manchester City and Chelsea in our league very much can afford it. You know, and then one or two of the top teams, but they don't pay. People come to England for those sort of wages. You know, 150, 200 grand a week. He's not going to get many other places in the world outside of the Premier League. And if City come in and Chelsea come in for him, you know, that worries me, because his head could get turned, because they could offer him 400 grand a week, and then he's going to suddenly become French.
Ryan, I've got a note here from the game that just says simply, is it time to see Gabriel on the bench and Ben White in at centre back? The mistakes for him are starting to pile up. We've said on here before, and Darren has said this as well.
It was me who posted that question. Yeah,
he's a little square-shouldered. He's a little rash, and as good as his best is, he's got some parts of his game that are very worrying. And Ben White has been phenomenal at right back and phenomenal in defence. We have another centre back there. Do you think it's time for a bit of rotation, or stick with him?
I mean, he's 24. Like, he's still, for a centre back, he might as well be 19, 20. I think he's still young. I think he's still learning his craft. Yeah, I mean, listen, he's no William Saliba, you know, but he offers something different than a William Saliba. And I think Ben White, we need to, in my opinion, for a center back pairing to work, you need a foil of one another. I don't think Ben White is a foil of Saliba. I think Gabriel is a foil of Saliba. And you're going to have that. You're going to have a center back that's just a Broad Street bully, that's just taking bitches out, you know, maybe giving a couple costly free kick. But I think you need that, and and he's got a little bit of cunt that I love, and I think, I don't know if William Saliba has that yet. You know, with his little tussle with Harry Kane, that probably should have gotten Harry Kane sent off, but or at least a yellow. But you know, I don't know. I think his kind of profile, the type of way he plays, he's always going to be in hot water. But I think he comes good more times than not, and I just think that, you know. Just keep letting him learn his craft. This whole team is constantly learning, constantly getting better. And I think we're going to get, especially defensively, we're going to get better over time. And but I guess coming at it from the other side of the coin, I want to see Tomiyasu play. I think Tomiyasu defensively is a better right back than Ben White. I think Ben White offers more going forward, even though, funny enough, Tomiyasu on most heat maps and all that crap analysis, or whatever. I don't say crap. I look at it every game, but Tomiyasu is the one that's higher up the pitch. But yeah, I don't know. I just want to see Tomiyasu play. So sure, but no, I think Gabriel's learning and he's getting better, and I think we just got to give him games, like you say with Sambi. We just got to give Gabriel games, and I think he'll be fine.
Darren, Gabriel looks like a bit of a penalty machine to me, and has done.
I think you have scar tissue from Luis and Granit Xhaka. That's why you're bringing this fucking conversation up. I don't.
Well,
Granit Xhaka is my new best friend, so don't talk shit about Granit Xhaka.
Darren, you've been one to not suck on the entire penis of Gabriel. We've seen the flaws, and we said at points.
Am I just sucking on everyone's dick? Is that what you're?
That's what you do. That's what you do, Ryan. You suck on everyone's dick.
Fine. Okay, that's fair.
Suck on everyone's dick. Darren, do you think there's enough? Do you think that he's showing that there is a rashness and there are flaws in his game that maybe some time out of the team to iron out?
Yeah, I don't think getting out of the team irons those things out. Playing football does, and he is young, as Ryan says. But I brought this up with you earlier in the week, I think, because I just think our side is better with Tomiyasu in it. And then you look at how you can change that team. And Gabriel, to me, has always looked like there's mistakes waiting to happen. He's been sent off, and he's been booked, and he's made rash challenges, fouls, penalties constantly throughout his career. He is a much better player this season than he was last season, in that he is a beast, and we do need that. And I wonder if that energy that he brings does hold that back four together a little. But I look at the cultured football of White, and Saliba looks like he's a real footballer. Add Tomiyasu one side and Zinchenko the other. Suddenly that looks like a back four that can play their way out of trouble. I don't see it with Gabriel. I don't think Gabriel's a bad player. I don't think we're a bad side with him in it. But I think we need to find Tomiyasu a place in that side. The first 6 months that Tomiyasu played for our club, he was the best right back I've seen for many, many years. He can also play at centre-back. I just think we need him in the side. Otherwise, we're going to end up losing him. And I think it would be a good time now, maybe after the Liverpool game, to start to bring and make a few little changes. We've got a lot of football coming up over the next, 6 weeks before the World Cup. And it's less than that now, isn't it? Yeah, about 6 weeks, 8 weeks before the World Cup. And I just think now is the time to tinker and make those changes.
Yeah, I mean, it's my appreciation for Ben White that drives a lot of this conversation for me, because I think he has been exceptional. And almost every time there has been someone required on the cover, it's been Ben White on the cover. You know, the way that he reads the game and the passion that he shows for the badge. It's not that Gabriel doesn't show passion for the badge, and I really like Gabriel, I do. But I just feel like in the big moments, in the big games, Gabriel's shown that he has a propensity to lose his head, and Ben White has shown the complete opposite for me. He's shown so much composure. And for me, if someone was saying, and let's not talk positionally or left or right, if someone was saying, pick your two best centre-backs at the club, my two best centre-backs at the club are Ben White and Willie Saliba. And it's not like Willie Saliba's a shrinking violet. He's a big fucking man. You know, it's not like you're taking one big man. It's not like you've got a big man, little man combination there and Gabriel's his bodyguard. But for me, some of that ball movement that's coming out of Saliba's side is just particularly exciting, with Saliba and Ben White and Partey interchanging in small spaces and releasing Saka and Ødegaard down the wing is exceptional.
I don't want to be too picky, Max, and I might have got my facts wrong, but we missed out on Champions League football last year by a point or two. You can always go back through games that we should and shouldn't have won. We played Manchester City off the park last year at the Emirates, and I think it was at the game that Gabriel got sent off, 2 bookings, one after the other, changed the whole profile of the game. We were so dominant in that game. We ended up losing. We were winning that game. We ended up losing 2-1, if my memory strikes me right. And it was, he got lots of support from Arsenal fans there, me included, because he was passionate and he was up for it and he was great in that game. But it was his mistakes that suddenly probably cost us 3 points, and we'd be playing Champions League football this year.
Yeah, and the other one was Rob Holding getting sent off doing something fucking stupid in another game that we should have won.
I mean, there was always you can pick holes. I'm not, Gabriel's been good. I just think that there is a propensity for him to make errors. Not even the ones the sending offs, the penalties, just to get errors. He gets caught out of possession, and he doesn't look as comfortable on the ball as the rest of them. And if I was an opposition coach, I would be targeting him to press.
Well, I keep referencing All or Nothing still. They brought it up in All or Nothing where they said to him, they went over the game tape and they said, when Gabriel has a first touch, if his first touch isn't 100% perfect on the ball, he panics and he fucks up. And what goal did where did he give up the goal? It was early on this season. I don't remember, but he had a bad touch, which led to another bad touch, which led to an even worse pass, and then they scored. So yeah, I think it's also worth mentioning here that Saliba also has that in him. I mean, I think it was a goal we scored against Brentford last week that started from him having a really bad first touch, and he managed to just nick it away from the defender, from the attacker, and we went on and made 3 or 4 passes, and the ball was in the net. But it was a bad touch from him. And again, if you look at the game against Tottenham, that 20 minutes to go period where Saliba gave away a foul, got booked. It was real, youth, inexperience. So there is a worry that we suddenly go, well, Saliba's the finished article, and we take out, it is football. People do make mistakes. Let's not, we are top of the league. We're not doing too badly.
But Saliba's also got that in him at the moment. His first touch isn't great, and it will get better as he
all
develops.
all the more reason for me want to put Ben White into that back four, because I think Ben White has the best.
Maybe you should put Saliba out on loan.
Backs.
Maybe we should Gabriel out on loan.
No, but it's funny because you brought up the conversation of like selling Saliba, and I get it. We're not going to get that kind of money for Gabriel, but to me, if we're having this discussion of selling a center back, I think we're a good enough team, and we mask Gabriel's inefficiencies enough to where if we're going to sell a center back, it would be Gabriel. And I think if we were to go down that road and potentially sell him, I think we would get a lot of money. I mean, yes, are we getting William Saliba money? No, we're not. But I think in rebuilding the team and doing what we need to do with the money, I think that would be probably the end result if we need to go about.
Look, we're gonna get Champions League football, and there's going to be absolutely no reason to fucking sell anyone.
I agree.
That's the fact, because we're going to be playing FA Cups, we're going to be playing League Cups, we're going to be playing Champions League football. We're not going to be playing on fucking Thursday and Sunday anymore. We're going to be back to playing on the big show rather than playing in shitty fucking Europa League football. And guys, we've also got to get through a World Cup where almost every player in our squad has to go away and has to play more football over it. How many weeks is the World Cup?
6
fucking.
Yeah.
And is there a break afterwards, or are we 6 weeks straight back into
there's a week's break afterwards, I believe. But it's not much.
Big fucking break then. We are going to see, guys, in the Premier League.
You've got to remember, most of the players, if they, the group stage is a month. So apart from a few elite players, it isn't all 6 weeks. They won't all come back tired because most of them will have finished their football in the first 4 weeks. So most of them will have had a 2-week break.
Yeah, I've never wanted for Brazil to do as fucking badly. I'll be cheering for Brazil to do terribly. Who else?
I always cheer Brazil badly, but funny enough, in my opinion, I think they're the favorites. I think I picked them to win. I think this World Cup is perfect for them in the heat where they thrive. But anyways, really quick before you go, November 12th is our last game before the World Cup, and then our first game back from the World Cup is Boxing Day, December 26th against West Ham.
So was that 6 weeks? Yeah.
Yeah,
we are going to see so many fucking soft tissue injuries across the Premier League. We're going to see so many players go down, going over there and exerting themselves in the heat.
I don't think it get too carried away because it is only the same as they're playing here. It's 2 games a week. It's 2 games a week. The fact that
they're still going to play the rest of the fucking games.
No, but the competition is being played in the winter for a reason because it's not quite so hot there. It is a World Cup.
It's still going to be hot as shit, though. I'm pretty sure it's going to be hot.
You're going to see injuries. You're going to see injuries, 100%.
Well, look, but no more than you would do if they're playing in the Premier League,
but then they got to play extra fucking games. They've still got to play the Premier League games. It's just load in players. The complexion. This is why it's so important that we go into the World Cup break, preferably in the position that we're in. And this is why, again, that Liverpool game might be season defining, because if we can go and get 3 points out of that Liverpool game, if we can do that, and we can keep chugging until World Cup, it just gives us the space. It gives us the ability. And, we might get away with it. We might get very few injuries, and a team like City might get some really big injuries. That fucking android robot fucking Rocky which was the Rocky with the big Russian? Rocky 3?
Well, nobody's got a chance.
He dies.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Like that motherfucker could go down, and then, they got rid of Jesus. And they're fucked without that cunt. He's scoring all their fucking goal. Fucking android-looking Russian. Cunt looks like he should be collecting money under a bridge. No shit. Like fucking troll-faced cunt. I mean, it's real good. Cunt looks like a fucking troll. I mean, I wouldn't fuck him unless he paid me. Then I'd probably fuck him. Probably would. But I wouldn't enjoy it.
Oh, look at the time.
Yeah. Well, on that note, I think there's a reason why as Arsenal fans we're starting to have conversations about the deficiencies in our team. And I think it's interesting that for once we're having conversations about the possible deficiencies in our team, not because we're shit, but because we're good. And because Arsenal fans are starting to think about how good are we and how good do we have to be to stay this good across the entire season. And it's a really nice feeling. It's a really nice feeling to start having these sorts of conversations about questioning whether players are good enough from a place of positivity, not a place of negativity. I also just wanted to finish by saying that the videos from the Emirates after that game are some of the best videos that I've ever seen. The crowd staying, jumping, carrying on, just absolutely phenomenal. And it's such a pleasure at the moment to be an Arsenal fan. It's such a pleasure at the moment to be able to come online and have conversations about a team that we love and a team that is producing and giving us something positive week in, week out, in a time when there's a lot of negativity. There's a lot of insecurities in the world, be it economic and social and things like that. So, I implore everyone out there to just stay together and stay on it and keep supporting the team and keep staying as a unit, because I really think that the team is growing off the back of the fan base and the fan base is growing off the back of the team. I would usually finish with something about penises, but instead I just press the button before the end this time. Usually I don't know how to press the button.
It was a bit of a premature.
I did. I was. All right. It's been an ArseBrothers Rantcast. See you next time. Bye.
This is an ArseBrothers production. Follow us on Twitter at the ArseBrothers. Get all our content on YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, and SoundCloud at ArseBros. And if you like what you hear, don't forget to smash that subscribe button.